should you get and build Nasti? Short answer. If you're a new player, or lacking a proper team, especially DPS unit, probably no. However, if you're a veteran player, who are looking for a very unique operator, probably yes. Long answer. This entire video.
はじめまして。LINE 生命エンジニア化主任、ナスティだ。君のことをよく話題に出す同僚が何人もいる。会えて嬉しい。
Director Nasti Lunori. A Banshee Sarkaz from Castle, who is the head of Rhinelap Engineering Department. A cold and calculating individual, who interestingly has an extensive 15 years of combat experience. Literally longer than Saria. Anyway, she is currently working together with Rhodes Island, as a special consultant of the engineering department. Alright, after she was promised to us from 3 years ago, in the Lone Trail event, she has now become playable. Fitting her story, Nasti is our second 6-star Artificer supporter after Stainless, focusing more on defense, and supporting ranged operators. As most already know, Artificers are the only melee supporter archetype that can also deploy devices to provide buff, or other usefulness for your team. While I don't recommend you use them as a tank unit, but being the only melee supporter opens up the possibility of other usefulness. Like when you need a blocker while playing IS mode, or you need a melee unit to take a supporter buff in triple S mode. Moving on, this is her general stats. Nothing much to say here really. Being an Artificer, Nasti got an overall average stats, with DP cost that is also in the average category. And here's the thing about her cost. Since she's a Rhine operator, if you bring Mumu, you can reduce her deployment cost. And of course she also benefits from other Rhinelap specific buffs. Okay, now let's see her talent. Like any other Artificers, Nasti's talent 1 determined how her devices work and how many she can carry and deploy. Her talent 1 is basically the same as Stainless talent, where her device effects change based on what skill she used. And her devices can be deployed on both ground and range tiles. As for the second talent, Nasti will permanently get Sanctuary buff for herself. And as soon as a ranged enemy appears, this Sanctuary effect will be increased, and now all range operators will get the same Sanctuary. Additionally, she also provides 1 SP every 6 seconds. And of course, Nasti will also receive the SP. Moving on, this is her potential upgrade list. A pretty neat upgrade, but much like most operators, the duplicate won't affect much in general content. Alright, now let's see her module. Nasti got the X module, which will increase the number of devices she can carry, and reduce the device's cost. Very useful module effect if you're going to spam her devices. And the DP cost reduction can make you deploy her devices quicker, which is especially useful if your DP generation is being hindered. Other than that, this module will also increase her max HP, attack and defense. As for the upgrade, it will enhance her talent 1, which will further reduce the cost of the first device she deployed. This upgrade practically makes her first device have 0 cost. The last upgrade also adds new stuff, where the devices can work in conjunction, to provide buffs to the same target, at the same time. Basically think of Radiant Skill 3. It's a rare situation, but this is quite useful when it's impossible to deploy two devices near your target. Personally, I don't think it's a very impactful module for general content. Notably considering how expensive the 6-star module is. The additional devices could be useful if you want to spam her skills. But the skill where you're most likely going to spam her devices is just her skill 2, and probably skill 1. The device's reduction cost from both the stage 1 and 2 could be useful, especially in a stage where every second matters. But again, those are not exactly a common situation. Now let's talk about her skills. Skill 1 will make her device to permanently increase the target defense by 25% at Elite 2. And this can stack. However, due to the buff nature, this defense buff will mostly be beneficial to someone with an already good defense. An operator with low, or even zero defense, will hardly benefit from this device. Anyway, when the skill is active, Nasti will gain some attack and defense buff, and hit multiple enemies equal to her block count. The device's defense buff will also increase, and now add +1 block count. This block count also stacks, so you can give someone a +2 blocks. Compared to what her other skills provide, this one is probably the least useful one. Of course the defense and extra block could be useful in a few places, but in general it's better if you use her other skills. Next, her skill 2. Her device won't do anything except restore its HP. However, as soon as you activate Nasti's skill, all devices will convert their HP to SP for the targeted operators. The device has 8 points of HP at Elite 2, so each device can give 8 SP, but only if you wait for the device to restore all of its HP first. Which makes it somewhat awkward. Because when you compare to Stainless, you can just deploy his device anytime you want, while Nasti needs a bit more planning. But the way Nasti can almost instantly give someone 16 SP can be a very useful tool to quickly charge up an operator skill, and possibly spam it. And beside SP, this device also gives the target some amount of barrier that doesn't decay. Nasti herself gains some barrier even without a device targeted on her. Last but not least, her skill 3. This is definitely what makes Nasti stand out compared to all operators in the game. And perhaps the sole reason you want her. Her device can build one special high tile on any available ground. Once the construction is finished you can place your ranged operators on top. And they will also receive plus 20% bonus to their max HP and attack. This special tile can then be upgraded twice. Each upgrade will give another stack of plus 20% buff of HP and attack. So at full upgrade, someone on top of that special tile will get plus 60% buff. Moreover, at full upgrade, if Nasti disappears from the field, the special tile will still exist. I don't think I have to explain to you how unique and useful this creating ranged tile ability is. In a way, she kinda breaks the game. And this ranged tile is not only useful to make ranged operators' positioning more flexible, but others who synergize with ranged tiles or a wall can benefit from this. Take Fuse for example. His skill 2 cluster charge can only be placed if there's a high tile in front of him. And now you can practically deploy him anywhere thanks to Nasti. Lee's Alter skill 3 also benefits from this, by closing off a pathway. Speaking of which, you cannot block the enemy's path with this. More operators in the future should also benefit a lot from this ranged tile, like Chen's second altar and Zima altar. By the way, almost all ranged operators are suitable to be placed on top of this special tile. But you typically want your main damage dealer on top. And so far the best ranged units to be deployed on top is Pramonik's altar. Because she is a top tier damage dealer, and it can help with her awkward attack range. Also, it's worth noting that the special tile can block a single enemy, and is actually pretty tough. And what's neat is that, if an enemy gets blocked by the tile, the enemy will only attack the high tile, ignoring the operator on top, well at least for a single target enemy that is. By the way, the effective way to heal this high tile is using Nasti's devices. So you might want her to stay on the field because of that. As for Nasti, she also gets some attack and defense buff during the skill duration. Okay, for skill mastery priority. On paper her skill mastery might look underwhelming. But her devices also get more bonus on each mastery. And I recommend you go for her skill 3 first. This is the skill that makes her unique, and the one you're most likely going to use often. On each mastery, beside increasing the buff to Nasti's stats, and improving the skill cycle. Each mastery on skill 3 will also increase the max HP and attack buff from her special range tile. Skill 2 is your next option. This skill is very useful to instantly give a big amount of SP to an operator, and provide protection via barrier. On paper, the mastery will just improve the barrier amount in Nasti skill cycle. But there's a rather hidden breakpoint at mastery 1. Where the device will reduce the SP cost from 6 to 5, allowing the device to recover its HP quicker. And pretty much, I think you can just leave it at M1. Skill 1 is pretty much a skip. There's only a few stages where extra block count or even defense matter. And in stages where block count does matter, it typically just requires 4 block operators, and you can easily get them from the protector defender. As for base skill, when in the factory, Nasti can increase productivity by plus 25%. The number is increased based on how many Rhine operators in the base, but this one only works when making gold. So ladies and gentlemen, that is why you should get and build Nasti, or maybe skip her. Nasti's strongest selling point is her ability to create range tiles. Right now there's no one else who can do that, and I doubt we see another one. She also provides other usefulness, but those are honestly pretty replaceable. And much like what I said in the short answer, I don't recommend new players, or those who are lacking a proper team to get her. Because even with her range tile, Nasti still needs another operator to make use out of her special tile. Saving for the upcoming banner is much more recommended. But veteran players like myself definitely find Nasti more interesting than another damage dealer. That should be all. Adios.